Hello and welcome to Facebook Live, brought to you by Legal Aid of Arkansas and the Center for Arkansas Legal Services. My name is Jennifer Gardiner and I am the director of the tax clinic at Legal Aid. We represent low-income taxpayers in their controversies with the IRS, and we also educate taxpayers in their tax rights and responsibilities. Today, I have with me 4 attorneys who represent consumer clients in Arkansas. Cecille Doan from the Center for Arkansas Legal Services, Susan Purtle from Legal Aid of Arkansas, Mallory Sanders from Legal Aid of Arkansas, Helen Newberry from the Center for Arkansas Legal Services, and me. Together, we are going to do a quick overview of some current news in the consumer world. We want this Facebook Live to be interactive. So at any time, please type your questions in the comment box, and I will monitor these questions for the panelists to answer. Take it away, Cecille.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Well, my name is Cecille Doan, and I'm an attorney with the Center for Arkansas Legal Services. I head the Consumer Protection Practice Group here at CALS, and I wanted to talk to you today about recognizing and preventing cybercrime. So if you're like me, you want to know, what is cybercrime? Well, cybercrime comes in many forms. It can include identity theft, fraud, online bullying and stalking, and many other things. At minimum, it can be seen as a major annoyance to a person. And at maximum, it could lead to your identity theft and financial problems. So we want to try to protect ourselves against this. What are the 3 major categories in cybercrime? We have identity theft, phishing attacks, and imposter scams. Identity theft is when someone illegally takes your information in order to obtain money or credit. So how will you know if you're a victim? Well, if you get bills and you signed up for services that you don't know about, or products you don't know about, if your bank account has some withdrawals that you did not expect and are completely unauthorized, then you may be a victim of identity theft. Phishing attacks are a lot more obscure because these cyber criminals know how to use emails and then make it very legitimate looking. These emails will attempt to collect personal and financial information from you and infect your device with malware and viruses. So you could get an email that says something like, "We suspect an unauthorized transaction on your account. To ensure that your account is not compromised, please click in the link below and confirm your identity." You can also get some emails that might say, "During our verification of your accounts, we couldn't verify who you are. So please click onto this account and verify who you are." Or please give us a call within 7 days to receive your refund because your account was overcharged. All of those types of emails seem very legitimate, but they are phishing attacks, and they encourage you to click onto these links and open attachments that actually would steal your information. And the final category of a cybercrime is imposter scams. So this happens when you'll get an email from someone that looks like it's from either a charity or a family member or government official. And they're going to request that you send them or wire them money to pay taxes or to help somebody you care about who is in jail, something like that. And they also use legitimate looking emails that ask you to give them a call. So how do you prevent yourself from becoming a victim of cybercrime? Don't click on that link. So if you look at this email and it looks kind of fishy, or maybe a little bit, you're not certain about it, just don't click it. Just if you're in any doubt, if it looks suspicious, just delete it and move on. If it's legitimate, you'll get an official letter. So just don't click onto the link. Review your bank statements and your billing records. Make sure that you're not getting unauthorized charges on your account. Don't wire money to people, to organizations, just don't do it. Or give personal information over the telephone. You should use strong passwords as well. So a very long password with capital letters and numbers will definitely help protect you from becoming a victim. And check your privacy settings. You really want to limit the type of personal information that you share online. And a lot of these apps have very strong access to every other app on your phone. So you really want to check with your app and other software programs, social media programs, to make sure that you're limiting your information and avoiding sharing this with people you don't know. So that's how to protect yourself. Those are simple steps that you can do. And now I will pass it on to Susan.
Hey, I'm Susan Purtle. I work with the consumer group at Legal Aid of Arkansas. And if you're like me and everyone in both of our groups, you want to get the best deal that you can when you buy a used car or when you buy a new car. And so one thing that you want to do is you want to know the value of the vehicle that you're trying to purchase, and you want to pay that true value. And that's based on the mileage, the age, the equipment. So if you've located a car that you like, write down those add-ons, get the VIN number you can usually see it through the windshield, and use those to check and see what the value of the car is that you want to buy in your zip code. And you can do that by going to Edmunds.com, and Consumer Reports also has a price service. So there are some ways, and I can answer more questions, but that's the most important thing, is to pay the value. While you're doing that, you're going to want to look for cars and trucks that have been reliable. You want to narrow down to those that require the least amount of repairs, so that you're getting something that you're not going to have to make a lot of repairs on. Before you go and buy your car, get your financing secured. Go to a local bank, a reputable bank, or join a credit union and get approved for a loan, so that that part of it you already have done when you go to try to make your purchase. Once you've found the car that you want and you want to purchase it, go to visit a mechanic. Let them make a list of all the things that need to be repaired on the car and the amount that that's going to cost. And you can use that in your negotiations to reduce the amount that you pay, so that you can either have the money from your loan to pay for those repairs, or reduce it, that gives you some negotiation room to make sure you've got that reliable car. And then when you've gotten all those things narrowed and you've gotten the price and your zip code that you want, you're going to come and they're going to offer costly add-ons that you do not want. And the main one that we see a lot is a service contract, and you don't need a service contract. A lot of times, if you've made a $3,500 down payment, your service contract will be $3,500. You just don't need those types of things. They usually just give the dealer a lot of money, and they just increase the cost to you over time. On extended warranties, we like to say no to those as well. If you do choose a model that's inherently unreliable, or it's the extension of a manufacturer's extended warranty, you might want to consider purchasing it if you don't have very much cash flow. But usually we would say no to that also. Right now, when you're going to purchase your car, you're going to want to take it out for a test drive, and you're going to want to turn on the air conditioner and the heat, depending on the season, turn off the radio, examine the exterior for paints and chip, make sure that the car hasn't been wrecked and paint and stuff doesn't match. And look at the interior and the exterior. Sniff for mildew. That might be a sign that the car has been flooded. And don't rush. The salesman often tells you it's got to be done today. That's not it. Don't get distracted. You've found your car, you've got the price that you want to pay, and stay focused. While they may want to switch to talk about financing, you're wanting to talk about the purchase price of the car that you want to buy.
Hey, Susan, I have
yeah.
a question.
Okay.
What if the seller, which I imagine is a lot, a dealer, right? What if they say, we don't let you have the mechanic look at the car?
Well, that's probably going to be where you're going to turn and walk. Sometimes you could negotiate if there's 2 Ford dealers and you're at one dealer and you could take it to another dealer and let them look at the codes that go with that car. But usually the salesman will drive with you to the place that you need it inspected and let you get it inspected. So you really do need that inspection to make sure that you know and have negotiated the correct price for the value. There is a chip manufacturing shortage. It's going to be for the next year. If you don't have to buy a new car or a used car right now, don't. In our area in Arkansas, it hasn't affected us as much yet. So if you have something in mind and you need a car, go ahead and purchase, but it's going to make negotiation more difficult and you're going to end up paying more for the car, but that's okay. As long as you need that car, you may not be able to get quite as good a deal right now. We expect the shortage to ease in about a year.
Great advice, Susan. I hadn't even thought about when's a good time to buy a car. It's not a great time right now.
Unless you need one.
You have to have one right now.
It's a great time if you're wanting to trade your car in to get a better deal on your trade-in value. So that might be good. Or if you're wanting to sell your car, if you'll wait a little bit, you're going to be able to get more for your used car and take that money and use it as a down payment for your purchase. And I'd like to hand it over to Mallory. She's going to tell us what it's like to be served with a lawsuit.
Thank you, Susan. I too am with the consumer protection team here at Legal Aid of Arkansas. Over the last year during the pandemic, you've heard about moratoriums for this, that, and the other. Unfortunately, in Arkansas, we've never had a moratorium on collection lawsuits. However, there have been some national companies, their internal policies, they just haven't been as active or suing folks. We have seen these filings pick up here recently. So if a creditor believes that you owe them money, they can and they will sue you. So what's most important is that you realize that that's what's happening. You have to be served once a lawsuit has been filed against you. And there's a couple of ways that this can happen. The most common way is by a process server. So that's when a person actually comes to your house or your place of employment and physically hands you a copy of a lawsuit. Even if you refuse to take it out of their hands, even if you throw it on the ground, you still have been served. So the clock starts ticking then. Another way to be served is through certified mail restricted delivery. So in that instance, a postal worker will ask you to sign something that you've received a document. So either of those things happen, look at your watch. What is today? And look at your calendar or your phone. Take note of today. For most lawsuits, you have 30 days to respond. So it's important to know when that happens. For some eviction proceedings, there may be a shorter time frame. So please review those documents and take note if there is a different deadline that's applicable. So you've figured out you've been served, you figured out when you have an answer due. So now let's file that answer. So filing is the important part on that. You have to actually file your response with the court clerk. So the top of those papers that you've been served with will tell you what court that's in, and you need to take your response or your answer to the court clerk to get it filed and mail a copy of that to the opposing attorney if it's an attorney on the case, or the opposing party if the person is unrepresented.
Mallory, can
yes.
I write my own answer?
Absolutely, you can. We would call that a pro se answer, meaning you're representing yourself. I, of course, would encourage you to get an attorney if possible. If it's a kind of case that Legal Aid or CALS handles, please apply for services. But if it's not, just be empowered with the knowledge that the 30 days is the mark you need to respond by, or a judgment will be entered against you. Just because you don't have an attorney on the front end to file an answer does not mean you can't get one later. But what's most important is that you are protecting your rights and preventing a default judgment from being entered against you within those 30 days.
Can I write it by handwriting, or do I have to type it?
You can handwrite it. My advice for handwriting it is just take a look at the way that the lawsuit looks that you were served with and kind of copy that format. So you'll want to put the same header with the name of the court, who is suing you, and your name, and then make sure to each allegation you admit or deny, but know that if you don't deny something, then there likely will be a judgment entered against you.
So Mallory, I know I'm being a pain, but I don't have a copy machine. So if I bring my answer, then I give them the only copy, what's going to happen?
You have a real sweet clerk, they may make a copy for you. Otherwise, you can perfect your handwriting skills and write yourself out 2 copies so long as they're identical. All right. So with that, I will pass it along to Helen with CALS.
I'm Helen Newberry. I am a staff attorney at the Center for Arkansas Legal Services. I'm also in the consumer group. Jennifer, could you take me to the next slide? So if you have been served with a lawsuit, something that might happen before a final hearing is that you may get something called either a request for admissions or interrogatories. So the interrogatories are going to be asking you specific questions about facts around the lawsuit. So if it's something about traffic, you may get a question that says, what kind of car do you drive? Or were you given, do you have insurance? Questions like that. So the thing about these kind of documents is you need to answer those in 30 days and you need to keep a copy for yourself. And that's not actually something you have to file with the court. It's something that you give a copy to the other person's attorney or the other person, depending on whether or not they have an attorney. So since you're not filing it in the court, it's important for you to keep a copy so that you have a record of what you answered. So like I said, the interrogatories are asking you questions. The next thing is going to be the request for admissions. And these are actually probably even more important. If you do not admit or deny the request for admissions, they may all be something called deemed admitted, which means you're admitting to everything. So they could ask you, did you murder this person? Technically, since you're not answering it, it's deemed admitted. So make sure you answer that in 30 days. When you're answering these, you have to be honest. This is like testifying in court. You need to be truthful. However, some of the questions might be two-parters where they're trying to slip you up, or they may be asking you directly something that will make you lose the case. If you think that you have some kind of defense, you probably want to talk to an attorney before you do something like this, because it would be terrible for someone to ask you if you owe a debt and you said that you do, but it turns out all along you had some kind of defense for that. So like Mallory said, we're always going to tell you to go ahead and talk to an attorney. And I'm going to hand it off to Jennifer.
Well,
Jennifer, you're muted.
Can I just add one thing to Helen's? With the request for admissions, when you respond to them, you put the question and then the second line is the response. And those requests for admission responses actually need to be filed. That's the one that needs to be filed with the clerk's office. So that everybody is on notice that you've responded to that, and no one can say, well, you didn't do it within 30 days. And so now these are all admitted. But just a side note. So
thank you, Cecille.
So this is a question for Susan that came in from our audience about a car. So let's go back to this for a second. It says, if you already got that warranty added on during the purchase, is there anything you can do about it afterwards? I guess they're having regrets.
Yes, you can cancel that. You need to do it. You know, it has some details on how you cancel it, and then you'll be given a credit on your purchase price. So you'll need to do that in writing, and it has the specific steps to do and where you write, and then you'll receive a credit. Did you purchase the service contract or the extended warranty, or both well, either way, you get a
We might get a
credit.
question. We might get another, we'll see.
Either way, you can get a credit on your bill. Hopefully it's been not very long, but it's prorated based on how long you've had it and the amount that you paid for the extended warranty or the service contract.
See, now I wouldn't have known that. I would have thought you're in it and you could never get out of it. So, thank you. But I can't take credit for that question. It was written in. All right, so this is, I'm back. I'm the director of the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic at Legal Aid of Arkansas. And we have a few headlines for tax. It seems like we have headlines all year long in tax. The most important headline this week is the income tax filing deadline, which is now only 1 week away. Normally it's on April 15th. This year, due to the pandemic, you got another month, but next Monday is the deadline. If you can file your return yourself online at irs.gov, please go for it because it's completely free and the most secure way to get your return processed quickly. E-file it on irs.gov. If you can't file it yourself that way, you can file it for free with a volunteer income tax assistance site. And some are still open, not all. If you need help finding one, call us because actually some of them are going to be open past May 17th. And if you got an extension, for example, you still wouldn't even be late, not advocating that, because we want you to file your 2020 tax return because it reconciles your 2020 income tax, economic impact payments. When you fill out your 2020 return, you tell your software or the preparer, if you're doing it orally, whether you received your economic impact payments, which we call EIP. The first one was in last year and the second one was in January, and that both applies to your 2020 return. If you didn't receive the correct amount of EIP 1 or EIP 2, this is the only way to get the payments from the IRS is to say on your 2020 return, I didn't get them. And then it comes out as a refund. So even if you didn't have any income at all, file the return to get the funds. So don't wait, don't get an extension and even postpone getting that money, because it also may generate the EIP-3, which comes out separately by filing that tax return. It may be telling the IRS, boy, I need the EIP, and it turns out in their records, they didn't send you the EIP-3. So here's some great news. As of today, breaking news today, the IRS reports that they have sent out approximately 164 million EIP-3 payments. And that's the $1,400 per person that appears on the 2020 return. And these payments have gone out so far in 8 batches. They appear, it's pretty much once a week, they send out a new batch. And then they keep doing it because more and more people file returns. It comes to the IRS's attention that more and more people are eligible. And then they send out, for example, last week, they sent out about 1 million of these payments. Filing your 2020 return will trigger your EIP-3 if you haven't gotten it already. So even though we are happy to talk to you, if you haven't gotten your EIP-3, if you haven't filed your 2020 return, take that step, and it might be the trigger that sends you that $1,400. So we have a new tax law called the American Rescue Plan, which provides for advance payment of the child tax credit that you're entitled to for tax year 2021. So every year when you file your tax return, you have children on the tax return, if you meet the eligibility requirements, you get a child tax credit, but you get it as part of your refund. Under this plan that Congress envisions, the payments will be made in monthly installments in July, which is only a couple months away, through December, instead of appearing as part of your refund on the 2021 return. Now, although July is fast approaching, basically it's a little more than, it's not less than 2 months away, the IRS has not publicized how this credit will work, how it will go out, how you can opt out and say, I want it in my refund, how you figure out who gets it. For example, if there are two parents, who gets the child tax credit for this year. So you need to stay tuned. We will post updates as they become available. My right-hand person at the clinic, Joan, is very anxious to publish the updates on this because we're getting a lot of calls. People want their, whatever it is, $500 a month or $400 a month, whatever's going to come out in advance. We don't know where it's going to go. We don't know if it's going to come by check, or if it's going to come by debit card or direct deposit. The IRS hasn't decided. I assume it's because they're still working on it. So although we have many, many, many more updates up our sleeves, that's enough for today's news. So on behalf of Legal Aid and the Center for Arkansas Legal Services, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. You can send us questions here on Facebook Live, or you can call our helplines. Basically, if you're in the service area on the northern part of the state, you call Legal Aid. In the southern part of the state, although I'm overstating it, but you can call either one of us and we'll direct you to the right place for your consumer questions. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.